be presenting today. Thank you. We have a few speakers that will be presenting today. And then, of course, initially, we're going to give our updates to share some of the things that are happening around broadband, digital equity, and where we are at this time. So again, thank you. And this is just, again, a brief overview of our agenda for today. So I noticed that there are a few people that have their AI read on. If you can please turn that off. We do record, in particular, we record all the meetings that are, where we're not having the breakout sessions. Like there was one a couple last month where our breakout sessions was half of the time of the meeting. So that was not recorded. But generally, we do have recordings that I send out, and they actually are available on our YouTube channel through University of Illinois Extension. And you'll also receive a copy of the PowerPoint that you'll see here today. So thank you, and I appreciate you all. We appreciate you all for turning off your AI read. Thank you. So this is a place for us to share, an opportunity for you all to ask questions, share your thoughts. Also, at the end of the presentation, we have announcements, an opportunity to share your partner updates, the great things that are happening in your communities that you serve. Also, an opportunity to share what events are coming up this summer in particular, so that we can join you all when any of us have the opportunity to do so. So respect your voices, respect your partner's voices. We're in this together, and don't be afraid to insert yourself, and take the time to listen and respect others' ideas and thoughts as well. The overall purpose of us coming together every month for the past several years is to inform you all of the various different updates from the Illinois Office of Broadband and the Illinois Broadband Lab, for you all to showcase the things that you're doing in your communities. So if you would like to be a presenter at any one of these meetings, as always, please send me a direct email and we will meet and discuss some of the things that you're doing and put you on the schedule. And of course, it's an opportunity for you to network. So at this time, if you could put your name, your organization, and your contact information in the chat so that someone else may see maybe in your area or would like to connect with you in your area. And as a reminder, broadband access is the civil rights issue of the 21st century. And that is from a quote from our past Congressman John Lewis. The registration link, if you were invited, here is the link. Again, you will receive this PowerPoint, so you'll be able to register yourself and receive updates for the upcoming meetings. I'll be sending out emails as well to remind you of our meetings each month. And this is an overview of who we are, the Office of Broadband. We're made up of two entities. The Office of Broadband, where we are located within the Department of Commerce Economic Opportunity, and the Illinois Broadband Lab, which is located in the University of Illinois system. All right, at this time, I'm going to pass the mic to Devin Brownstein, our director, so she can share some of the updates that we have within the office and the Illinois Broadband Lab.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy July. You can go ahead to the next slide. So we'll share some brief recap and updates on digital equity, and then I will pass it over to my colleague, Shauna, to talk us through BEAD updates. So first, I think everyone is well aware by now about the cancellation of the Digital Equity Act by the federal government. So to recap, we were rolling right along, getting ready to review Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant applications from many folks in this room, when on May 9th, we heard from the federal government that this grant was canceled. And we had to cease activities immediately, kind of stop spending any of these funds. So we know this has a huge impact on our state. Nearly 80% of Illinois residents belong to one or more covered populations, which are the groups that would have been supported through this grant program. So a very devastating update from the federal government, and we are currently working really hard to figure out ways that we can increase funding again to revive these programs, ranging from the Digital Equity Capacity Grant here in Illinois, digital navigators, regional hubs, and lots of other plans that we had been working on for the last couple of years. So in the meantime, there is an opportunity for you to let your lawmakers know the impact that this cancellation has and will have on the communities here in Illinois. So we do have some talking points here and a link if you would like to reach out to your federal elected official, your member of Congress, to share your story, how this might impact your organization, your community, and the more specific personal stories that you can share, the more that it'll drive home the point of, what digital equity actually is and the implications of this cancellation. So we do have one, ray of light, I guess you could call it. Many folks had pointed to the fact that the Digital Equity Act is written into statute. So it's written really clearly into the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. And so we were excited to share that Illinois has joined 21 other states to file a lawsuit specifically questioning the legality of the cancellation of a lot of federal grant programs. So this lawsuit covers a pretty big scope ranging from agriculture, justice, labor, environment, and under this umbrella is the Digital Equity Act funds which were canceled. So specifically, what this lawsuit brings into question is how the federal government interpreted 2 CFR 200 in canceling these grants. 2 CFR 200 is essentially federal guidance around kind of grants and funding programs that we use to make sure that we're compliant with how we use federal funding sources. And this happened a couple of weeks ago. The most recent update is now states are listing out specific grant programs underneath of this umbrella. And so the Digital Equity Capacity Grant will now be explicitly called out. So, legal action is not a short process, but we were happy, optimistic to see that this is being given some attention. And we are, hopeful and will wait patiently to see what this lawsuit brings. And should it be successful, there is an opportunity for us to revive this programming and reclaim those funds. So I think managing expectations, of course, but wanted to make sure that folks were aware of this news and this potential path, and know that we'll keep you posted once there is news. So with that, I will pass it over to Shauna Tates, the team's broadband policy manager.
Great. Devin, can you confirm that I'm coming through clearly?
Yes, confirmed.
Okay, great. I'm getting an unstable internet notification, of course. Perfect timing. Great. We can go ahead and skip to the next slide. I will keep the updates on the broadband equity access and deployment program pretty high level, but I will drop a link to a more detailed slide deck if you're interested in more information. But just a reminder, BEAD is a $42 billion federal grant program. It was intended to be the sister program to the Digital Equity Act. So it allocated those $42 billion across all 50 states and a number of territories. And Illinois got $1.04 billion. So the intention is to build that internet infrastructure out across the state where access to high-speed internet is not currently available. Next slide, please. So on June 6th, NTIA, which is the federal agency that regulates the BEAD program, issued a restructuring policy notice with a number of changes that created some pretty fundamental shifts in the program. I've highlighted four big ones here. There's more, which again, I can send the detailed breakdown. But the first of which is the elimination, and I'm using the language from the policy notice, elimination of regulatory burdens. So this was the removal of a number of different types of requirements that were built into the program. So those include labor, climate change, what's called open access or net neutrality, requirements around local coordination with communities and governments. Fifth, non-traditional broadband providers, and then six, a middle class, or our requirement to create a middle class affordability plan, and lastly, a low cost service option requirement. So those were all stripped from the BEAD program. The second major change was around technology neutrality. Previously, states had been instructed to prioritize fiber internet technology whenever economically reasonable. Now the state is considering all technology upfront, and each different type of technology can claim to be a priority broadband project and be considered kind of from the jump. The third major change was changes to the scoring rubric, which I'll touch on here in a second. And the last was changes to BEAD eligible locations. So there were a number of locations that ended up being pulled from eligibility. And those, for the purposes of this group, include some community anchor institutions that didn't fit within the very strict statutory requirements that NTIA went back to. Excuse me. Next slide, please. I do want to touch on maybe one of the most relevant parts of the elimination of regulatory burdens for the purposes of this group. So previously in BEAD, or excuse me, in the BEAD statute, it is required that any internet service provider who receives an award through BEAD provide a low-cost service option to qualifying households. NTIA previously had allowed each state to define what that low-cost service kind of max cost could be. So Illinois had said that anybody participating in Illinois would need to have a plan that was $40 or less. And the way to be eligible for that was if your household had qualified for the Affordable Connectivity Program previously, you would be eligible for the $40 a month plan. After the policy notice, the new guidance around the low-cost service option is that each provider is able to claim whatever their low-cost service plan will be. The state cannot regulate what that number is. And then the eligibility shifted from ACP eligibility parameters to Lifeline eligibility parameters. Lifeline is the roughly $10 benefit for phone and internet that's still available through the FCC. We can go to the next slide. I did want to just call out how the scoring rubric changed because it indicates some of the different ways we're going to have to think about the program. So we aren't able to consider things like affordability, fair labor practices, open access, or local coordination anymore, but we are able to still look at what the financial ask of the from the provider to the state is, as well as in certain cases, how quickly a provider can build out and the speed and tech capabilities of the network they're proposing. Go to the next slide. So this is the new way we're going to score per the policy notice. So essentially, upfront, the major scoring criteria is which project is the least expensive. In an effort to get to a combination of projects that creates the least or the lowest cost option for the state for the program. If there are two proposals that come close to each other within 15%, then we can consider some secondary criteria, which are here at the bottom. So we can consider how fast they will build out, what the speed of their network or technical capabilities are, and whether or not we had previously selected them through a preliminary award because Illinois had run part of its application program, or excuse me, part of its application window already. Next slide. Alrighty, so this is the new timeline we're working on. NTIA published this policy notice on June 6th. We had to make a number of updates and submit documentation to the NTIA we submitted on June 24th. July 1st, we opened our application window. That's going to run through the 18th. So providers are currently applying for the program. And we have up until September 4th to collect applications, score them, negotiate with any providers, and then ensure that we're still covering the entirety of the state and then write it all up into a final proposal that will get posted for public comment at the end of August and then submitted on September 4th. After we submit in September, NTIA has 90 days to review. And so we should have hopefully confirmation on everything by the beginning of December. Whew. We can go to the next slide. Great. Yeah, absolutely. Any BEAD questions, we are happy to answer them. You can email us at broadband@illinois.gov. I will also drop the more detailed presentation that I mentioned in the chat. So thank you, Alicia.
Thank you so much, Shauna. I appreciate that. Please, I hope that everyone is able to review the information that Shauna is going to share in the chat, and also when we send out these slides. With the new changes, there are opportunities. With the new changes, there are changes. But it's definitely important for those of you who are in this field to please review the information and also share with others that you know that may have not been at the table to come to the table now. Thank you. So with that being said, we have one of our partners from Benton Institute, Reed Sharkey, is going to share some updates regarding Broadband Breakthrough, as well as some of our partners who have been working with Broadband Breakthrough, in particular in the last round of the program. Reed?
Thank you, Alicia. You can go ahead and thank you. Yeah, go to that slide. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here speaking with you all again. I think a few months ago I gave a presentation about broadband breakthrough as it related to local coordination and the BEAD process. But this time I think we're just going to I'll do kind of overview of the program at a high level. Sorry, there's noise outside my apartment, a bunch of car horns. I hope you can't hear that. Yeah, high level overview of the fourth round of the program, which we just completed, sort of the new additions that we brought to the program this time around. And then I'll kick it over to two really outstanding team leaders that were from two of the counties in this fourth cohort of Broadband Breakthrough. So next slide, please. Okay, so at this point, the Benton Institute and its partners have worked with 24 counties throughout Illinois to aid rural communities in gaining expertise and building capacity to achieve broadband access for all. Broadband Breakthrough program is born out of previous Benton community engagement programs, namely Accelerate, and it supports community-centric broadband planning by providing education, technical assistance, and coordination. The way that Broadband Breakthrough distinguishes itself from prior Benton Institute programs was the addition back in 2023 of two agricultural planning tools to show the impact of broadband has on the agricultural sector. And I'll talk a little bit about those in a few slides. Next slide, please. So Broadband Breakthrough, as I said, combines elements from previous Benton Institute community engagement programs. And this time around, we brought in extra help from the Reed Consulting Group, which is a broadband consulting firm based in Ohio, but they've done work nationally and have done work in Illinois before. They provided some really, really great data tools to the counties this time around and also assisted in ISP outreach later on in the program. Community survey and analysis from the University of Illinois Extension, Nancy Wadraga, who's on the call. As always, really just great service provided by Extension in helping those surveys get out, hosted, analyzed. And those ag tools I mentioned from GeoMap at ISU, that's from John Kostelnick, who's a professor there. And then direct engagement from the Illinois Office of Broadband and Broadband Lab, of which without which the program wouldn't be possible. Next slide, please. So briefly run through the program activities. This is just kind of from beginning to end. So we start with an orientation and a meeting one-on-one with each county to go through preliminary mapping data and speed test data that the Reed Consulting Group collect prior to the program officially beginning, and did kind of do some ground truthing with the counties to county leaders to see what the data is saying. Is there any discrepancies in what your county leaders see on the ground, what the community actually experiences with the data? Or is it more reflected in the speed tests, things like that? And I'll touch on that briefly in a future slide. Then we do the survey process provided by University of Illinois Extension. And then we go through webinars, which is we've shortened out now down to 6 webinars, I believe, from the original 16. So we now have condensed the program down to less webinars. We're doing more one-on-one assistance with the counties, providing these data tools and assistance with ISP outreach. Those meetings feature broadband specialists and experts from around the country throughout the Benton network. Then we go to analyzing the survey reports, additional maps and cost modeling of broadband implementation provided by the reconsulting group, and then also those agricultural tools, and kind of put pieces of the puzzle together to then be able to go out and interact with ISPs. The goal of this round was to assist ISPs in building an application for the BEAD program. We were looking at round 2, obviously, with the changes that Shauna just described. Those applications would now be placed in the benefit of the bargain round and then subsequent round. But we think much of the analysis, if not all of the analysis that was given in the program, is still useful because the Office of Broadband did such a great job in preserving a lot of the work that was done in terms of the PAU development into the new benefit of the bargain round and new BEAD program after NTIA's policy notice. And then we finish, and you're about to see a version of the final presentation, which highlights each community, something that they part of their experience throughout the program, and one of the successes or next steps. And that's how we finish off the program, and still keep in touch and assist in any way that we can in all of the counties we work with process and getting broadband deployed throughout the county. Next slide, please. So I'll go through just some specific stories now and notes from each of the counties. And I don't think I've mentioned, we had 7 counties this time around: Fulton County, Lake County, Macoupin County, Marshall County, McHenry, Montgomery, and Pike counties were the 7 enrolled this time around. But so you'll hear, I don't think from everyone here I have a statistic, but most of them. So these 2 are from the surveys. The Fulton County, we asked questions regarding access, farm use at home, what kind of address what kind of location you're doing the survey from. We asked respondents to do a speed test. So it's a really detailed survey report that the counties get at the end of the program. And these are just 2 highlights from interesting results we got. One in Fulton showing 76% of farm or ag businesses reported having no wired connection at all. And in Macoupin, farm and ag entities expressed willingness to host broadband technology on tall structures, which was the highest willingness number in the cohort. And we really look at those 2 numbers, especially with the ag focus of the program, as critical because and with 76% of farmer ag business not having wired connection, you're going to have a much lower ability to deploy high quality precision agriculture technology. And then in Macoupin, where there's also a really large lack of access in the rural areas for wired internet, the willingness to expand high quality fixed wireless networks through using taller structures on ag properties just really amplifies the amount of bang for your buck a fixed wireless provider is able to get when they're deploying to a really remote area. So that's something that can be brought to prospective providers in an application process for BEAD, or if they're doing it on their own dime. Next slide, please. So on that agricultural analysis point, this is an example from, yeah, that's Pike County, that showing the increase in yield that corn and soybean farmers would get if they were able to deploy precision agriculture technology across the board. In Pike, they would receive $10 million in potential additional yield per year if farmers had access to high quality broadband. And you see that stat again close to the one in Macoupin of 64% of ag entities were willing to host fixed wireless infrastructure on their properties. And then some other notes on farmers in McHenry expressing preference for fiber. This was a unique cohort for us in that we had kind of really, really rural counties, in Southern Illinois who were, below 15,000 population. And then you have Chicagoland counties in Lake and McHenry who are, very different in terms of the amount of locations, and the makeup of their counties, what networks are already there, is what I'm trying to say. And Montgomery County received a really large number of survey responses from agricultural entities, 2% of which only indicated that they were satisfied with their cellular hotspot connections for their business functions. Next slide, please. I'll briefly go over the ISP outreach process. This is something that we have added recently in the program, is acting as an ombudsman for counties when they begin their ISP outreach towards the end of the program. We're happy to be present in those conversations, whether it's over the phone or a Zoom meeting or just connecting on an introductory email if we have a contact at a particular ISP at Benton or at Reed Consulting Group, to make that connection and help the county if they want us to ask questions, provide insight. We don't want to be imposing any of our the county is at the forefront of these conversations. We want to be, greasing the wheels, helping a partnership develop in any way that we can, but all at the behest of the county, whatever they're comfortable. In several cases, we noted that ISPs were reluctant to share information about their Wave 1 applications to communities, citing IOB requirements. But Devin clarified the IOB's position. This is ancient news now in terms of the BEAD program, but this welling up of stories from ISPs saying that they can't share information prompted Devin to do outreach to the ISPs and say, no, you actually can. We want you to have this communication with local communities. It's something that we value. And then we're able to move some of those conversations along that had stalled. So that was a really positive outcome for community involvement in the BEAD application process that I don't think would have come about for these counties if we hadn't had that connection. Next slide, please. This is now an old stat and hoping to update it soon. But in Connect Illinois Round 3, we're getting towards the end here. So just provide a bragging stat that $171 million, so 52% of the Connect Illinois Round 3 funds went to communities who participated in a previous broadband breakthrough cohort or other broadband planning program. And we're just super proud of all of those counties who, worked their butt off to get a better broadband situation for all of their community members, and just really happy to have played any part in that. So next slide, please. I'm going to turn, I think, now over to the two county team members that we have on the call um, to highlight their work in the Broadband Breakthrough Program. First, I'll introduce Michelle Spiva, who represents Fulton County from Spoon River, right? Yeah, Spoon River. And yeah, Michelle was a great leader for the Fulton County team, really led a holistic survey outreach approach that was, just a great team for just folks on the ground that want better broadband, and really appreciate that that team was so dedicated to the survey outreach. So, Michelle.
Thank you, Reed. So Reed asked me to talk a little bit about our survey efforts, but first I'll say the reason our group got together was because the citizens were mad. And so a lot of the groups, I think, had more municipality type support than we did. We were a ragtag group of concerned citizens. The Farm Bureau was a great supporter of ours. We were able to, but we were able to still be very successful because our citizens are so concerned about their broadband and because we're a very rural county. And so for our surveys, we were able to get great responses. We had our QR code with our flyers that we put on social media, and we boosted those posts, and we presented to all of the city councils, and we presented to the county board. We had table tents made up for the restaurants with the QR codes on them. None of these things are expensive. We, for Walgreens, we made a big like foam board. We had two surveys going, one for housing and one for broadband. So we went to Walgreens, and for $20, we made this big foam board with both of the QR codes that we would take to events and community gatherings and things to get more support. And then the really great thing about our little group is we had two participants who are retired who took paper surveys to all of the communities where they knew there was no service at all. So those ladies picked a couple days and went all around Fulton County and distributed paper surveys that then we entered ourselves. And so that was a little time consuming, but what we found was that in addition to so many of the farmers not having access, in general, we found that 83% of our county is unserved or underserved for broadband during that survey, which is just mind-blowing to me. And so we were also able to learn where all of the eligible PAUs are. We were able to reach out to providers that had never even heard of. The team was so great in helping us connect with multiple ISPs, and we did find two that were willing to put in applications and that we're currently applying. And so we found one that we think is going to be really work for our county. Unfortunately, not all those PAUs were awarded, so we're hoping in future rounds we can get more of our PAUs covered. But I'll also just say briefly, the maps are so helpful to compare what the ISP says the speeds are versus what the surveys actually showed, and then to look at the agricultural maps that showed that for Fulton County, we would have a $2 million increase if we had accurate technology in our corn and our soybeans. And then also the vertical assets map, we learned specific locations of where farmers were willing to have their vertical assets used. And so we were able to pass that information on to our current ISPs that are serving those areas. And so really just great program. I highly recommend.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's you really touched on a lot there for me, and appreciate the really hard work that both you and all of the team members that you worked with put in on the survey outreach, and then bringing all of the information that was provided by Reed Consulting Group and Nancy at Extension and Reed Consulting Group to just amplify the effects of not only having this information, but pushing it out and making sure that it doesn't just sit idle. I think I want to make the connection that we often think of broadband implementation infrastructure and digital equity as siloed, or it sometimes is portrayed that way. And I think hearing the story of two retirees going door to door at every location in the county that they know lacks access and they need them to take a survey, and maybe they show them how to log in, show them how to record the survey. That's person on, that's a human touch that gets lost when we think of these things as siloed. It's a holistic picture. Equity includes access. And so, yeah, I appreciate that story a lot. So
Yeah,
thanks, Michelle.
they went to local cafes where they knew like all the people gather in the morning for coffee or for lunch. And so that's where they went so that they could reach large groups of people in our rural areas. That's sometimes hard to do.
Yeah, yeah, and you got to be crafty like that. Thanks. I'll turn now to Kay Crandall in Lake County, who oversaw with a few others a really, really holistic, big approach to the program. Like I said earlier, Lake County, I think, is definitely the largest by population county we've ever worked with in a community engagement program. And it presented some s- new challenges or new kind of things that we had to think about in working with the county. And I think having all of this wealth of data that Reed Consulting Group provided really allowed us to dig in a lot more than we would have in previous iterations of the program. So it was a great time to work with some larger counties, and not just a large county, but a really large team at the Lake County Digital Equity Coalition and Inclusion Initiative. Do I have that right? Sorry, Kay. Go ahead.
Uh, Digital Growth Initiative.
Digital Growth Initiative. Sorry.
Yes. No problem. Thanks, Reed. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Kay Crandall. I'm the Digital Equity Manager for Lake County. And our initiative, our Digital Growth Initiative, is a fairly new one. We started in March of last year. So that was kickstarted by our Broadband and Digital Equity Action Plan. And one of the items in our plan is to support the BEAD process. So when this opportunity came about to participate in the Broadband Breakthrough Program, it was in alignment with our plan and the goals that the county had outlined and the county board specifically supports. We've got a few items here, for Lake County and, our strategies moving forward. Uh, but Reed mentioned, we had a large group participate in some of the sessions. And so one of the requirements that was put to us was to have 12 individuals involved. And we didn't know if we were going to be able to get 12 people to dedicate their time to attend the meetings pretty regularly on Wednesdays and to engage with the survey component and to just generally be invested because everyone is so busy and has a lot on their plate. But we connected with people on our coalition. So primarily, we had our team, which is made up of myself and my colleague Kim Lunt, I think is on the call, our digital equity coordinator, and another staff person at the county, Betsy, and our digital navigators. We had them on the call. And then we had two municipalities that participate in our coalition that we're working with to build public Wi-Fi projects, North Chicago and Waukegan. And we also had two of our Lake County board members that were involved. And it was the chair of our technology committee and the vice chair of our technology, or the co-chair of our technology committee. And then we had some other coalition members that were interested. We had some partners from the Highwood Library and Community Center and a couple of other libraries and community organizations that participate in our coalition. So that was really excellent, especially on the meeting where we were reviewing maps. There was some great maps that came from the team at Reed Consulting that were reviewing the current state of broadband connectivity and the county. And, so that was an interesting point for folks. They wanted to come on and see what does the data say and does it match up with our experiences and our communities. So I think the folks that did attend those meetings and calls were really invested in making sure that the voices of the folks in their community are heard, and that goes from like their normal job to their special interest in broadband and digital equity. So, we were able to identify some areas that were theoretically served, but that have poor speeds. So those were areas like Long Grove, Lakeville Township, and we also have some unincorporated areas up in the northwest corner of the county near Antioch as well. And, it was also really helpful to connect with or talk about our connections that we've made with ISPs, internet service providers, and kind of share back, hear what others' experiences were with those entities, what our experiences are, how we might move forward with those relationships as they evolve and as BEAD requirements have evolved. We took we went to our county board, our team went to the county board and said that, there's an opportunity for us to support the BEAD process through providing letters of support to internet service providers. That has since changed in the BEAD process, but that was something that we were doing. And we were having those meetings with internet service providers to see, are you applying for BEAD funds? Where are you looking at building out infrastructure? What types of infrastructure? Can you share any details on how you plan to engage with the community on these implementations, and what does your cost structure look like? And just showing up to those meetings, whether it's BEAD or not, and asking those questions. I think we're going to continue to do that, even though it's not a requirement under the BEAD application. Maybe they don't need our letter of support, but we can show up and have those discussions. And so we've also been able to engage local leaders in this, program. So they're aware of what's going on with BEAD and they're able to advocate for it. And one of our county board members, the chair of our technology committee. She's currently at the National Counties Conference in DC, the annual NACO conference. And so our team worked with her to develop two different resolutions that she is probably in, I don't know if they call them caucuses there, in their meetings at NACO to talk about what policies they want to prioritize over the next year and vote on those. So we had one that was focused on BEAD and highlighting things that are priority to our county, like affordable plans and community engagement, and also uh, um, kind of sustainability in terms of the environment, and some other key pieces there, and then also a resolution about digital literacy and having digital education be a big part of different programs of citizen reentry, workforce, K through 12 education, adult education, the healthcare sector. So, this kind of our participation in the Broadband Breakthrough Program laid the ground for us to be able to do that and for our board members to be aware of what's going on with BEAD, how we can engage with internet service providers, and taking that to the national level is so cool and it's huge. And I'm hopeful that bringing that information to the national level, we can help other counties in Illinois and across the country to advocate for funding and policies that move things in the direction that the residents that live there want and need it too. So I'm going to pause there because that's a really exciting thing that I'm proud that we're working on. And anything else you want me to touch on, please let me know, Reed. Thank you.
That's so great. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. really congratulations on getting those resolutions introduced, and would love to hear more in the following weeks. I'm sure that news will come out of that. So um, thank you so much, guys, for being on and wanting to share about your experience in the program. It is always great to hear, a couple months on, that communities are still thinking about these things. The resources that the program provided are proving useful in some way. It makes it's rewarding for me, and just knowing that the the work that the communities put in is bearing fruit. So always happy to provide an update on the program, and appreciate the time to speak with you all. So I'll toss it back to you, Alicia.
Thank you so much, Reed, Michelle, and Kay. Really appreciate hearing the information. Reed, I had a question actually. Is there going to be another cohort, a broadband breakthrough cohort this fall?
Not this fall, no. There's none planned at the moment. I think, yeah, with the federal funding timeline as it stands, we're kind of to be determined whether or not, when and if future cohorts will take place. Wait for the
Okay.
BEAD program to shake out.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know that just, being in some of the meetings over the past couple of years, that it has been a really helpful program for the counties throughout the state. So it was really helpful to hear from both Michelle and from Kay today. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Um, mhm. And moving forward, I want to actually, one of, you'll see here on this slide, these are grant opportunities. And one of the grant opportunities I do have on here, I wrote Justice Transition Fund, but the Just Transition Fund is also on here. Everything that you see here is a link, although it's not highlighted blue, but it is a link. So when you receive this PowerPoint, please do not hesitate to click on the links, find out more about these grant opportunities. As you see, of course, I initially have listed here the NDIA resources, various different resources as relates to the information that Devin shared earlier in the meeting regarding the states that are coming together, the attorney generals that have are collaborating on pushing forward with digital equity funds. But also the other thing that you'll see here is DCO. We are housed within DCO. So there are several different grant opportunities that are available. If you click on these links, you can find out about the deadlines, but also first and foremost, listen to some of the trainings that they may have regarding, how to apply for the various different DCO grants if you have not done so already. But, I want to create an opportunity for, other options as far as funding is concerned. And I really appreciate what you said, Reed. Um, about us all keeping in mind, all of us keeping in mind that digital equity and broadband, they're not in silos. They do work together. And so, we have to keep that in mind as we move forward, as you all are filling out that information, sending it to your legislators or our legislators here in Illinois, emphasizing, the information that was shared on the slides and emphasizing the fact that it goes together. And that wonderful story, for example, that was shared, with Michelle's story with people going to the doors, having people sign up or going into the cafes, and meeting people where they are. So again, please take an advantage of this opportunity and looking at the various different grants that may be helpful to you and the people that you're serving. I have announcement. Well, this is the closing announcements, but I have someone who's going to share. Lauren Williams is going to share from PCs for People. But this is the announcement page. Some of these are also links for you to click on and learn more. We just, several of us here in the Northeast region, including the Illinois Broadband Lab and the Office of Broadband, with the Ready 25 meeting at Chicago State, the Abe Link team Dr. Daniel Block and Natalia Cardina just had a wonderful event yesterday for stakeholders. Today, they are celebrating with their community members. So it's a two-part summit. Hopefully, I know there are some people here on the call that were there yesterday, and then there was a wonderful event that me and our colleague Anita Lee were able to attend at DeSable yesterday with some of our Comcast folks that were there talking about digital equity. So the word is out. It is expanding. People are promoting and talking more about what you all have been doing, what we have been doing over the most recent years, over the years, and how we can advocate with one another and moving forward. And with that being said, Lauren, if you would like to share more about the work that you're doing.
Sure. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite everybody here to visit PCs for People. During Chicago Tech Week, we will be hosting a couple of tours. So you've heard of Charlie, who got the golden ticket to the chocolate factory, and there weren't that many available. Well, we still have tickets available, and they're free to come visit PCs for People on the 24th of August. And I think you'll get the link in the slide deck when it comes out to RSVP for our morning or afternoon tours. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing. And I've also added a slide from Cook County. I don't know if anyone is here from Cook County, Mauricio or Kyla. If not, they are having there's going to be a symposium in October. This past Thursday, I sent out, when I sent out the notice earlier this week, I was highlighting the fact that this past Thursday, the 10th, yesterday was an opportunity, the deadline for submission. If you would like to present at the symposium, I've learned from Kyla, who was present and presented yesterday at Chicago State's event, that potentially that deadline is going to extend. So I will send out more information. Of course, you'll be sending out information to partners with Cook County. But once I get that, I will send that to you all. This is another opportunity for you all to come and hear, participate, but also come and hear, your partners who are doing this work in digital equity slash broadband throughout Cook County and are connected with some of the other counties, the collar counties like Lake County, McHenry County, and others. So, take an opportunity to review this information. Again, I will send updates regarding those the extended submission deadline for presenters soon. And I'd like to pause before I get to the final slide. We don't always have a few minutes left over, but we do now. Please, if you would like to share events or celebrations that are happening with the people that you're serving, your cities, your towns, townships, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the slide, and your counties, please unmute yourself and share. We'd love to hear it. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, this will be a great opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and look over at the chat.
Hey, Alicia, this is Kay. I just wanted to share with the group that we're excited to be welcoming two new digital navigators to our team this week. We have now a team of 7 digital navigators in Lake County, and today marks the end of their first week. So they weren't able to make this call because they're already out in the field doing a workshop. So hopefully they'll be on next month, and you all can see them then, Rashawn and Wilner. But we're so excited to be growing our team and the capacity to serve residents here in Lake County. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kay, for sharing, and congratulations, continuously growing and doing great things. And I'm looking at the chat now. Connie, if you would like to unmute yourself and share a little bit about the flyer that you sent, that you put in the chat.
Oh, you bet. So on Wednesday, we are partnering with the Southern Illinois University Edwardsville Digital Humanities Center, the IRIS Center, and the Wedge Innovation Center in Alton, Illinois, to host this workshop called Putting Ourselves on the Map, Data Bias and the Stories We Tell. Folks in the room will be able to learn a little bit about entering data into an Excel spreadsheet, how that populates and feeds into a story map. And along the way, they'll also gain some insight around how data can be biased. And then this will become a living a document, a living story map that folks can continue to add to. So we are literally putting ourselves on the map because on the Metro East side of the St. Louis metropolitan statistical area, sometimes we get lost. So this will be a way to also celebrate what we have going on in the Metro East.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that does sound amazing. I look forward to hearing more about it. And congratulations for continuously speaking up, speaking out, and putting you all on the map. Thank you so much, Connie, for sharing. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else? Any events coming up in the next, within this month, next month? And also, anything that you like to share, any questions that you may have. All right. Well, I appreciate you all as always. Please stay in touch if you have not filled out any of these links, went to our website or signed up for our newsletter or have become official, partner in signing in, completing our forms for partner forum and sharing your stories with us. As you know, we're always looking for stories, and as you know, all of us in the field are interested in hearing what is happening. And then, of course, share those stories when you send your information to our legislators to let them know the impact that you have had in the communities that you serve, no matter what size, right? No matter what area, urban, rural, all areas equal, all information is equal. One person is as great as 10 or more people that you have served and that have made an impact in the communities where you are. So if you don't have any more questions or comments, I am going to go ahead and say thank you. I wish you all a wonderful weekend, enjoying this summer weekend. I haven't looked at the weather. I don't know how hot it's going to be. Do not tell me. I'll just enjoy it. And I hope that you guys do as well. Take care. If you need anything from me, please do not hesitate to contact me directly. If you are interested in being a presenter, any of the following months, I am taking speakers, meeting with you all and setting up speakers for the next, actually from now until the end of this year. So please.